You are standing on a stone floor, and it is warm under your feet. Not from an electric heater, not from pipes of hot water, but from a fire burning in another room entirely, its heat drawn beneath the floor through hollow spaces built into the very bones of the building. This is central heating, and it is happening nearly 2,000 years ago in a Roman house. The Romans built a civilization so advanced that when it fell, Europe lost some of these skills for more than 1,000 years. Warm floors, waterproof concrete, running water in the home. Gone, forgotten, and only slowly, painfully, rediscovered. I promised you last time that we would dig up what Rome took to the grave, and today we do exactly that. I am Arthur Finch, and this is Forgotten Centuries, where we dig up the knowledge the modern world threw away. And if you want all of it in one place, my Forgotten Household Almanac is linked in the pinned comment below. Now let us begin where every Roman city began, with water. Because the Romans were, above all, masters of moving water, and they did it without a single pump. Their tool was gravity, and their monument was the aqueduct. When a Roman city needed water, engineers would find a spring or a lake in the hills, sometimes 50 or more miles away, and build a channel to carry the water all the way to the city on a gentle, continuous downhill slope. And I do mean gentle. Over the famous aqueducts, the ground drops only a few inches for every mile traveled. Get that slope slightly wrong, too steep and the water races and damages the channel, too flat and it sits and stagnates, and the whole system fails. The Romans calculated it correctly, by hand, across mountains and valleys, using surveying tools made of wood and water and plumb lines. Where a valley was too deep to cross on arches, they used a trick that sounds impossible for the ancient world. They sealed the water into pipes and ran it down one side of the valley and up the other. The water, seeking its own level, would climb the far slope on its own pressure. An inverted siphon, engineers call it. The Romans were doing it 2,000 years ago, and some of their aqueducts still carry water today. The one that feeds the Trevi Fountain in Rome traces its origin back to a Roman source. 2,000 years of service, and no electricity ever touched it. But bringing clean water in was only half the problem. You also have to carry the dirty water out, and this is where Rome did something almost no other ancient city managed. They built sewers. The Great Drain of Rome was begun so early in the city's history that it started as an open ditch, and over centuries it was covered, expanded, and turned into a vast network of stone tunnels running beneath the streets, carrying waste and stormwater down to the river. Parts of that ancient system are still connected to the modern drains of Rome. When you can pull clean water in from the mountains and flush waste out to the river, disease retreats and a city can grow large. The Romans understood the link between sanitation and health in a practical way that would not be matched again in Europe for a very, very long time. Now let us go back to that warm floor, because it deserves a proper explanation. The Roman central heating system was called the hypocaust, and the idea is beautifully simple. The floor of a room was raised up, resting on a forest of short brick pillars, leaving an open space perhaps 2 feet high underneath the entire floor. Outside the room, a furnace burned wood, tended by a servant. The hot air and smoke from that furnace flowed into the space beneath the floor, spread out through it, and heated the stone and tile from below. From there, the heat rose further, drawn up through hollow tiles and channels built inside the walls, warming the room on every side and venting the smoke out through the roof. The people inside never saw the fire or breathed the smoke. They simply stood on a warm floor in a warm room in the middle of winter. This is not a distant cousin of modern heating. It is the direct ancestor. Underfloor heating, the warm floors people install in bathrooms and kitchens today as a modern luxury, is the hypocaust reborn. The Romans had it in their bathhouses and in the homes of the wealthy, and when the Western Empire collapsed, This technology largely vanished from Europe for 1,000 years. People went back to huddling around a single smoky fire, which is exactly where we found our medieval peasants 2 videos ago. That is what I mean when I say we forgot. If you are enjoying this is what Forgotten Centuries is for, so consider subscribing, because the deeper we dig, the stranger and richer the past becomes. The hypocaust reached its glory in the Roman baths, which were far more than places to wash. A great bathhouse was the center of Roman social life, a place to exercise, to do business, to gossip, to relax. And the engineering that made it possible was the same hot air system, scaled up enormously. Bathers moved through a sequence of rooms, from a hot room heavy with steam, to a warm room, to a bracing cold plunge, all of it fed by furnaces and aqueduct water. The largest imperial baths could hold well over 1,000 people at once. Warm water, hot rooms, steam, and cold pools, all delivered by fire, gravity, and clever plumbing. No electricity, no pumps. Just an astonishing understanding of how heat and water behave. And now we come to the material that made all of it stand up, the substance that is perhaps Rome's greatest forgotten secret: concrete. We tend to think of concrete as a modern thing, but the Romans had it, and in one crucial way theirs was better than ours. The secret was an ingredient. The Romans discovered that if they mixed their lime with a particular volcanic ash found near the Bay of Naples, they produced a concrete that would set hard even underwater and grow stronger over time. They used it to build harbors directly in the sea, to raise the enormous unreinforced dome of the Pantheon, which after nearly 19 centuries is still the largest of its kind in the world, and to construct buildings so solid that they are still standing today. Here's the part that should stop you. Modern concrete, the ordinary kind, tends to crack and decay within decades, especially in seawater. Roman marine concrete has survived 2,000 years in the sea and grown tougher. For a long time, nobody understood why. Recent research suggests the Roman mixture actually heals its own cracks. When water seeps into a tiny crack, it reacts with certain compounds still present in the material and grows new crystals that seal the gap. The concrete repairs itself. We are only now in our own laboratories beginning to reverse engineer what a Roman builder mixed in a bucket. That is not ancient people catching up to us. That is us catching up to them. The list goes on, and every item follows the same pattern. The Romans harnessed rivers with water wheels, building whole complexes of them to grind grain into flour on an industrial scale, powered entirely by the current, needing no fuel and no human muscle to turn them. They built spiral staircases that wound around a central column to climb great heights in a small footprint. An idea so good that castles and cathedrals and modern towers still use it unchanged. They pressed olives and grapes with the screw press, one worker turning a great wooden screw to produce the force of many men, for the oil that was their food, their soap, their lamplight, and their medicine. They reduced friction in their machines and their ships with rollers and bearings, the same principle that spins inside every wheel you will ride on today. Step back and look at the whole picture. Water carried across a province by gravity alone. Waste carried away beneath the streets. Floors warmed by hidden fire. Concrete that outlasts our own and mends itself. Machines driven by rivers. And then, over a few centuries, the Western Empire fractured, the trade routes broke, the cities shrank, the engineers scattered, and the knowledge that built all of this slipped away. Not because it was bad knowledge, because the society that carried it fell apart, and no one was left who knew how to do these things, or had the wealth and peace to do them. The recipe for that self-healing concrete was genuinely lost, and stayed lost, until our own lifetimes. That is the real lesson hiding inside these Roman marvels. Knowledge is not something a civilization owns forever. It has to be used, and taught, and written down, and passed from one pair of hands to the next, or it dies. The Romans learned that the hard way, in reverse, when everything they had built began to crumble, and the skill to rebuild it was simply gone. Which raises a question I want to sit with next time. We have spent 3 videos now marveling at what people did without electricity. But there is a darker chapter to this story. Across history, useful knowledge has been deliberately buried, hidden by guilds who guarded their secrets, lost when libraries burned, suppressed because it threatened someone powerful. In the next video, we are going to look at the knowledge that was not simply forgotten, but kept from ordinary people on purpose, and how some of it was very nearly lost forever. And if you want the lost skills from this whole series gathered in one place, my Forgotten Household Almanac is waiting in the pinned comment below. I am Arthur Finch, and this has been Forgotten Centuries.